This is Africa, but probably not the Africa you had in mind. No golden savannas, no scorching heat. Here, the air is thin, and even your thickest coat might not be enough. This is a place where snow isn't a rare event. It's a yearly certainty. A whole kingdom where you can ski under the same sun that shines on lions and giraffes just a few hundred kilometers away. This place isn't a fantasy. It has a name, Lesotho. Welcome to Complex Planet. This is the story of how, against all odds and stereotypes, there exists a kingdom of ice and diamonds hidden in the sky, right in the heart of southern Africa, a country that will challenge everything you thought you knew about this continent. To understand Lesotho, you have to look up, way up. Let's simplify the country's geography with an image. Imagine an entire nation built on top of a massive mountain. It's known as the Kingdom in the Sky because quite literally, all of its territory lies at high altitude. The country's starting point, its lowest spot, already sits at an impressive 1,400 meters above sea level. To put that into perspective, imagine stacking 4 Eiffel Towers, one on top of the other. Lesotho's lowest point begins at that height. In almost any other country, that would be the peak of a mountain. In Lesotho, it's just the starting line. And what happens when an entire country lives so far from sea level? The air becomes permanently colder. It's for this single and powerful reason that Lesotho experiences one of Africa's most surprising phenomena. In winter, precipitation doesn't come down as rain. It freezes and falls as snow. During the Southern Hemisphere's winter months from June to August, temperatures in the Melodi Mountains, the country's rugged backbone, plunge below zero. It's here that you'll find Afriski, one of only 2 ski resorts in southern Africa. For many South Africans and tourists from around the world, this is the closest and most accessible place to experience a real winter. A snowy oasis that draws visitors and challenges our very idea of what it means to be African. But living in the sky comes at a price. Getting here and getting around is not for the faint of heart. The roads twist like asphalt and dirt serpents, climbing to dizzying heights. The most famous of them is Sani Pass, a legendary route that connects Lesotho to South Africa. With gradients reaching up to 33%, it's so steep and dangerous that by law, only 4x4 vehicles are allowed to cross it. This extreme geography, the same one that gifts Lesotho with snow and breathtaking landscapes, is also what keeps it isolated. And who are the people who call this kingdom home? It's a nation of just over 2 million inhabitants, a modest number for an entire country, where most of them live scattered across rural areas. The capital, Maseru, concentrates most of the urban life. A demographic curiosity, here, women slightly outnumber men. But the most striking fact is the population's age. Lesotho is an incredibly young nation, with nearly half of its people under the age of 25. If the mountains are Lesotho's body, the Basotho people are its soul. Having adapted for centuries to this unforgiving environment, they've developed a rich culture and a quiet resilience. Life here moves at a different pace, one set by nature itself. In the highlands, cars are a luxury and often useless. The true king of the roads is the Basotho pony, a sturdy and agile breed perfectly adapted to navigate the steep mountain trails. For the people here, being a skilled rider isn't a hobby, it's a survival skill. And that's not the only adaptation. The biting cold demands special protection. The Basotho blanket isn't just a garment, it's an identity. Originally introduced by European traders in the 19th century, the Basotho people embraced it and turned it into a cultural icon. Every pattern, every color tells a story, marking social status or celebrating an event. It's a woolen cocoon that shields against the sharp mountain cold and carries the pride of a nation. But perhaps no symbol is more powerful than this: the mokorotlo. This woven straw hat is more than an accessory. It's Lesotho's national symbol. It stands proudly at the center of the country's flag, decorates license plates, and even inspired the architecture of the Parliament building. And its origin? It's proof of this people's deep bond with their land. The mokorotlo's design was directly inspired by the shape of Mount Cologne, a nearly perfect cone-shaped peak visible from a place of great historical significance, a place that served as both cradle and fortress for the birth of a nation. How did one visionary king use the impossible geography of these mountains, not just to survive, but to forge a united nation against the most powerful empire of his time. In the early 19th century, southern Africa was living through an age of chaos and war. Amid this violent landscape, a leader named Moshoeshoe I realized that brute force alone wouldn't ensure survival. He would have to be smarter. His great strategy was to use geography as his greatest ally. He united his people, and several other refugee clans, on top of a nearly impenetrable natural fortress, Tababosu Mountain. There, he offered not just protection, but a new, unified identity for all, forming the Lesotho nation. His decisions were pragmatic, guided by a single goal: the survival of his people. When European settlers, known as Boers, threatened to seize his lands, Moshoeshoe made the hardest decision of his life. He knew he couldn't fight a war against both the Boers and the British Empire at the same time. So, he made a political calculation. He asked Queen Victoria of England to make his kingdom a British protectorate. It wasn't a complete victory, but a necessary sacrifice. By accepting British protection, Moshoeshoe lost part of his autonomy and had to surrender fertile lands to his enemies. Yet, that brilliant move ensured his kingdom would not be entirely absorbed by South Africa. Thanks to that decision, Lesotho preserved its identity and its borders. It was this legacy of difficult choices that allowed Lesotho to finally achieve full independence on October 4, 1966. The nation was born not out of glorious conquest, but from the wisdom of a king who knew how to sacrifice a part to save the whole. And the legacy of those choices shaped the economy of the present. A country that, having lost its most fertile lands, now depends on a different kind of white gold that flows from its mountains. This is the Katsa Dam, one of the greatest engineering feats in Africa. But it's much more than concrete and steel. It's the heart of a multi-billion-dollar project that defines Lesotho's modern economy, the Lesotho Highlands Water Project. It may sound ironic, but this mountainous and relatively dry country is one of southern Africa's biggest water tanks. The snow that blankets its peaks in winter melts in spring, feeding rivers of crystal-clear water. The project captures that water and, through 82 kilometers of tunnels cutting through the mountains, sells it to South Africa. It's what they call white gold. This export brings Lesotho around $70 million a year, an essential part of its GDP. In return, the dams generate electricity, making Lesotho almost self-sufficient in energy. It seems like the perfect deal, an example of cooperation between nations. But the reality is far more complex. Overgrazing and the effects of climate change are causing severe erosion. Fertile soil is being washed away by the rains, carried into the rivers, and slowly filling up the reservoirs with sediment. Experts warn that if nothing is done, the lifespan of these immensely expensive dams could be drastically shortened, putting the entire project at risk. The country's biggest source of income is, quite literally, being buried. And water isn't the only treasure that flows from these mountains. Lesotho is also home to the Letseng mine, the highest diamond mine in the world, which has become legendary in the 21st century for consistently producing some of the largest and purest diamonds ever found. In August 2006, miners unearthed the Lesotho Promise, a spectacular 603-carat diamond that sold at auction for over $12 million. Then, in August 2011, came the Letseng Star, another colossal stone weighing 550 carats. But the most breathtaking discovery, one that made global headlines, came in January 2018. Miners found a gem the size of 2 golf balls, an astonishing 910-carat diamond of near-perfect purity. Named the Lesotho Legend, it sold just 2 months later for an extraordinary $40 million, entering history as one of the largest and most valuable diamonds ever discovered. So when we say that stones worth tens of millions are found here, it's no exaggeration. It's the reality of the kingdom in the sky's incredible mineral wealth. Yet, like water, this wealth casts a shadow. Despite the enormous profits, the mining industry has fueled disputes and accusations that riches are not being shared fairly, leaving local communities with little direct benefit. It's a cruel paradox. A land that yields gems of unmatched purity still faces some of the deepest social and health crises of our time. How can a country blessed with such natural wealth and proud history face one of the most silent and devastating humanitarian crises of our age? Behind the facade of epic landscapes and ski resorts, Lesotho fights a daily battle for survival. The country faces one of the lowest life expectancies on the planet. In 2024, a citizen of Lesotho can expect to live, on average, just 55 years. The main cause behind this alarming number is the HIV and AIDS epidemic. Lesotho has the second highest HIV prevalence rate in the world. Nearly 1 in 4 people between the ages of 15 and 49 live with the virus. The disease has left a trail of devastation, creating a generation of orphans and pushing an already fragile healthcare system to its limits. Tuberculosis, often a co-infection, makes the crisis even worse. But it's important to say, the Lesotho people are not giving up. With the help of international organizations, the country has made remarkable progress. Access to antiretroviral therapy has greatly improved. New infections have dropped by more than 70% since 2010, and awareness is growing. The fight is long and difficult, but there are signs of hope. Adding to the health crisis, political instability has been a constant and destructive shadow. This isn't an abstract issue. It's a series of events that have marked the nation's history. The cycle began soon after independence in 1970, when then Prime Minister Leabua Jonathan lost an election but refused to step down, suspending the constitution and ruling by decree. Lesotho lived under authoritarian rule until 1986, when Jonathan himself was overthrown in a military coup. The instability didn't end there. In 1998, following disputed election results, a popular uprising and an army mutiny led to military intervention by the Southern African Development Community. The operation, intended to restore order, resulted in violent clashes and the destruction of much of the capital. More recently, the cycle repeated itself with an attempted coup in 2014 that forced the Prime Minister to flee to South Africa, and the shocking assassination of the army commander in 2017, an event that exposed deep and dangerous divisions within the armed forces. Each crisis drives away investment, paralyzes governance, and prevents the creation of strong institutions. And this political and military instability often worsens another, quieter crisis, one that happens inside homes, far from the headlines. Lesotho faces one of the most alarming rates of gender-based violence in the world. According to data from organizations such as UN Women and the World Bank, a shocking 1 in 3 women in Lesotho has experienced physical or sexual violence in her lifetime. This epidemic of violence is fueled by a toxic mix of factors, deeply rooted patriarchal norms that devalue women, high unemployment, and poverty rates that create immense domestic tension and widespread alcohol abuse. Although the country has passed laws such as the Domestic Violence Act, enforcing them in practice remains an enormous challenge. For countless victims, especially in remote rural areas, access to justice, police protection, or safe shelters is almost non-existent, trapping them in cycles of abuse. It's a deep social wound that local activists and organizations, often with limited resources, fight bravely to heal every single day. Did you already know Lesotho's story? Leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Every week, there's a new episode exploring the world's most beautiful and most contradictory places. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.